These are 8 questions that we as God of War fans, we just have to have them answered in God of War Ragnarok. This is just a list and they are in no particular order, and to make matters even better, I'm not going to be alone. To make sure all of you have the best experience possible, I have asked John Ford, the general of the Spartan army, to help me out with this video.
What's up everyone? God of War has so many unanswered questions, it's one of the reasons why the hype for this game is so high. The brilliant minds at Santa Monica Studio put so many unanswered questions in this game, and today we're going to talk about the biggest ones.
Who blew the horn? To start off this video is one question that many people are talking about in the God of War community, and many God of War content creators have made a video or two about this, me included. For everyone that has played God of War 2018, we hear the horn being blown when Atreus becomes sick. Right after we encounter Modi in Tyr's temple, Modi ambushes Kratos with some type of electric capability that holds Kratos down, and Atreus tries his best to help his father, but to no use. Then he does something very familiar to God of War fans. He almost taps into what looks like Spartan's rage, but it seems that his body could not take this amount of energy and he just collapses. Atreus at this point of the game does not know that his father is a god and that he is as well, and does not know anything about his godhood. And his godhood is trying to break free, and this is why he does collapse. His body cannot take it, and as of right now, he cannot control his power. And of course, Big Daddy Kratos, in old fashion, gets really pissy, breaks free of Modi's hold on him, and pretty much punches him up against the wall, like from across the room. And in classic Modi fashion, he runs away. Kratos picks up his sick boy and brings him to the only person in all the realms that he knows that would help him and have the power to help him, the Witch of the Woods, Freya. On our way to her home, we hear the horn being blown to summon the world serpent Jormungandr.
Somebody just called the serpent.
But we still do not know who has done it at this point. And like I kind of said before, there are many theories about this topic and many slew of characters that people think blew the horn, such as Faye, future Atreus, future Kratos, Angrboda, Heimdall, and even Baldur. I've pretty much heard it all. In God of War Ragnarok, we hope that Sony Santa Monica gives us the answer to this question.
Will Kratos wield Mjolnir, Thor's hammer? The God of War series has been centered around the many enemies that we encounter, from Greece to the Norse realm, which definitely includes the gods of these realms as well. And almost just as important, the weapons that we sometimes take away from them to use for ourselves. From Zeus's lightning bolt that we received as a gift in God of War 1, the Spear of Destiny originally used by the Dark Rider, to the Nemean Kestis and literal head of Helios, which we more, should I say, forcefully took. With many weapons in between, the God of War series has not been light on its weaponry. But in God of War 2018, we did not receive so many weapons. Yes, we got a new one with the Leviathan Axe and the amazing return of the Blades of Chaos, and they were both amazing to wield. But every God of War fan wants to know if Kratos will wield Thor's hammer Mjolnir in God of War Ragnarok. And sorry MCU fans, Kratos does not have to be worthy to use Mjolnir. This is a concept completely made up by Marvel. And he only has to be strong enough to pick it up, and let's be honest, it's Kratos, and this should not be a problem. And if we do get to use Mjolnir in God of War Ragnarok, when would we get it? This has everything to do with the fight and potentially kill Thor. The best place to get Mjolnir, if we do get to use it, would probably be somewhere in the middle of the campaign, kind of a similar time when we got the Blades of Chaos. This gives us ample time to use Mjolnir for puzzles and other enemy types, but Thor in mythology and in God of War is going to fight Jormungandr during Ragnarok, which if you ask me, will be at the end of God of War Ragnarok. So it is also possible that Mjolnir will be a New Game Plus available type of weapon. We just have to wait and see when God of War Ragnarok hits stores.
Who is the eagle in Helheim? During our travels with Kratos and Atreus, we go through many different realms, such as Midgard, Muspelheim, Niflheim, Jotunheim, even though it was just a little bit, Alfheim, and of course, Helheim. And when we do go through Helheim, the 2 times that we do in the main story, we see this giant eagle sitting at the edge of the realm. Once, when we go get the heart of the keeper of the Bridge of the Damned, it's a mouthful, named Madugar Hellson, it's gonna be right here, to cure Atreus' sickness. Also, when we get sent there by Baldur after he tries to kidnap Atreus, Kratos kind of intervened and used the realm travel room when he looks like Baldur's trying to get him to Asgard, but this is a whole nother thing. And we end up flying in a boat that we find within the realm. But the big question here is, who is the eagle in Helheim? There are many theories out there who the eagle might possibly be. The most popular answer, or the most popular theory about who this eagle is that it is the eagle Hraesvelgr, which in Old Norse when translated to English means corpse swallower. I mean, the God of War fandom page says this, so it's gotta be true, right? While they also have the same information that me and you have, so I'm not convinced. Also on the fandom page, they say Odin has killed Tyr, but during the God of War Ragnarok trailer, obviously isn't true, so there you go. Hraesvelgr in Norse mythology is the eagle that sits on top of the world tree Yggdrasil at the highest point, with his buddy Vidrfolnir, the hawk that sits on his head. Hraesvelgr is the mortal enemy of Nidhogg, the serpent, dragon, worm, whatever you want to call it, that lives underneath the roots of the world tree and gnaws at its roots. And our buddy Ratatoskr runs up and down the world tree, just saying one is insulting the other and they get really pissy at each other, so they don't like each other very much. We learn this in 2 separate entries in Norse mythology in different sagas. One is in Grimnismal from the Poetic Edda, and from the Prose Edda we learn this in Julfagitting. But this is God of War, and Sony Santa Monica may be taking liberties with the mythology and placing Hraesvelgr in Helheim. It could very well happen. Absolutely, it could be Hraesvelgr. But I've also heard some really cool theories that it very well might be Hel, the goddess of Helheim, watching over her realm, and also being the daughter of Loki and the granddaughter of Kratos, she might give them a free pass throughout the realm. I've also heard that it is Odin, but I'm not so sure about this one. Who do you think the eagle in Helheim is? Tell me and John in the comments down below.
The Jotunheim wall mural. Now this seems like an extremely important question that many God of War fans have speculated ever since God of War 2018 was released. We find the wall mural at the end of God of War 2018 on Jotunheim, when we finally get to spread Faye's ashes. Unless you count the secret ending when Thor shows up after Kratos and Atreus goes home. So here is the image we see in Jotunheim. Now there is a lot to take in within this image, especially when our boy is cradling someone that seems close to death. So who could Atreus be so close to that when they are on their deathbed that he would hold them? Now I have heard a ton of theories about who is in the Jotunheim wall mural, such as Big Daddy Kratos. Now it is not new to the God of War universe for Kratos to die. Just for example, he died at almost the very beginning of God of War 2, so it is possible for Kratos to die again and come back just as he did then. Another popular theory that has been flying around YouTube is that it is Tyr that is on the Jotunheim wall mural. Many believe this because of the missing hand on the mural, and Tyr is supposed to lose a hand to the wolf Fenrir. Well, at least in mythology, because in God of War Ragnarok trailer, he still has both of his hands, but this could be late in the game, and we could lose his hand by then. Another theory is that it is Mimir that is dying on the wall mural. Now this theory lies with the dwarves Brock and Sindri making Mimir a new body because of the measurements that they took while Kratos and Atreus were in Jotunheim, as Mimir did say that they took an uncomfortable amount of measurements on him. A crazy theory, yes, but still as possible as the rest. So who is Atreus holding on the Jotunheim mural?
Will a Greek god find Kratos? So if you have followed the God of War series even slightly before God of War 2018, you know Kratos is the Greek God of War after he killed Ares and the Olympians made him take his place as God of War. But after a while, Kratos became even more pissed at them because they would not remove the memories of his past that still haunts him. And it also didn't help that when Kratos opened Pandora's box in God of War 1, all the evils that were hidden in the box overcame the Olympian gods and didn't work out too well. So, what did Kratos do? He killed them all. Or did he? So yes, Kratos has killed a ton of gods, especially in the Greek pantheon, such as Poseidon, Hades, Hercules, actually pronounced Heracles in Greek mythology, but whatever, Perseus, Helios, Hermes, the list is pretty big. But there are very notable Greek gods that Kratos did not kill that may very well still be alive. Some of these gods are Apollo, the god of light, music, and poetry, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, the harvest, and also the mother of Persephone, Amphitrite, the goddess of the sea and wife of Poseidon, just to name a few. But there is only one god or goddess that is still alive in the Greek pantheon that has the best chance to find Kratos in the Norse realm. That goddess is Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. This is a very popular theory that's out there right now, and it does make sense, being that Artemis does make a small appearance in God of War 1, when she gives Kratos the Blade of Artemis as a gift. And who better to hunt down Kratos than a goddess whose realm of power is hunting and tracking? But to my knowledge, as of right now, there is no confirmation that a Greek god or goddess will make it into God of War Ragnarok. But this question still has many God of War fans speculating.
How did Faye die? Faye, or Lao Faye the Just, is one of the most impressive characters in God of War 2018, and the funny thing is that she doesn't even make an appearance in the game. But without Faye, we pretty much don't have a game at all. She is the catalyst behind Kratos and Atreus even leaving their home in Midgard to spread her ashes on top of the highest peak in all the realms, which we learn later on from Mimir it is in Jotunheim. Later on, we learn that Faye had the gift of foresight and actually paved Kratos and Atreus' journey from step 1. These yellow markings that we find throughout God of War 2018 were all handmade by Faye herself well before Kratos and Atreus made their first steps beyond their homestead. Without Faye dying, we do not even have a game, but many God of War fans out there want to know exactly how Faye died. There are many theories out there that have speculated on this topic. One theory out there is that Faye died of a sickness that was spreading through Midgard and that she died of that sickness. One theory is that she suffered a mortal wound from an enemy by an Aesir god. There are plenty more out there as of right now, but most people agree that Faye had to die of something that was unnatural because there was only one account in God of War myths that a Jotun died of old age. That giant's name was Boromir, the king of the giants. Mimir tells us that there are many good ends for the giants, and Faye is no exception. But how do you think Faye died? Write us a comment and tell us what you have in mind.
A return to Greece? So one big question going around the God of War community right now is that will Kratos return to his home world of Greece? Kratos left the Greek pantheon in pretty much utter ruins. You can see that right after God of War 3, right before Kratos tries to impale himself with the Blade of Olympus. You can see the world flooded, and in the background you see souls from the underworld floating to the surface. So how can we return to Greece when it's utterly destroyed? Well, there are a few moments in God of War 2018 that shows us that the Greek realm is not so bad off, at least anymore after Kratos left. So during our travels in God of War 2018, we see a couple of murals depicting the Greek pantheon, and one depicting Tyr. Tyr in this image shows that there are still people in the Greek realm, and they are rebuilding their world one piece at a time. Also in God of War 2018, we find a vase that literally depicts Kratos, but many of us overlooked one minute detail about this vase, which is right here. In the corner right here, it looks like someone is rebuilding this building that Kratos left in ruin. So it is perfectly possible that the Greek realm is back in action. Maybe under the control of different gods, or maybe no gods at all, but this is just speculation. And from the picture that we do see Tyr in the Greek pantheon, this shows us that there are some ways, or at least one way, to get from the Norse realm to the Greek realm. Whether or not Kratos and or Atreus will make it to the Greek realm or not is just complete speculation at this point. But just from these pictures, it seems that it is completely possible.
Honorable mentions. Just before we get to the last question on this list, here are some honorable mentions that are still important, and we just thought we should at least mention them. How is Kratos immortal? This is probably one of the most critical questions in the God of War community, and this question may never be answered, well, at least not straightforward. In an interview with Cory Barlog and Eric Williams, I asked them how is Kratos immortal, and of course Cory made a joke, not answering at all. I'm not gonna lie, when I asked them if I can ask whatever I wanted, and they said sure, go ahead, this was the first question that came to my mind, and I thought for a moment, a split moment, we were all gonna finally figure this out, but I let everybody down. I couldn't get an answer out of him. What is Mimir not telling us? So during God of War, we rely on Mimir quite heavily for the lore and stories from around the realm, and especially when we are talking to Yarmungandr. But in an interview with Easy Allies, Cory Barlog stated this flat out tell us that Mimir is withholding information from us during God of War 2018. What is it? No one besides Sony Santa Monica knows for sure at this point. How many Jotun are still alive? At the end of God of War 2018, when Kratos and Atreus finally make it to Jotunheim, the landscape is devoured by dead giants. But how many are still alive? We know from the God of War Ragnarok trailer that Angrboda is still alive, and during Ragnarok, Loki will lead the giants into Asgard, at least in mythology. So how many Jotun or giants are still around for the Battle of Ragnarok? There may be time travel involved with this question, as well as a theory that phase ashes restore them, but nothing is fact at this point.
Will Kratos tell Atreus about his past? Now there's a loaded question. Will Kratos finally tell Atreus about all the things that he did in the Greek realm? Kratos, who is a great Spartan warrior, who gave his life in service to the Greek god of war Ares, who he eventually killed, took his title of God of War, then killed almost all the gods in the pantheon, and pretty much destroyed the entire Greek world. Not to mention, he killed his first wife and daughter. That's a lot to unload on someone. But will Kratos eventually have to unload all of this onto Atreus in God of War Ragnarok? Atreus just got a taste of what Kratos did in his past in God of War 2018, when he told Atreus that he was a god and Atreus was as well to stop his sickness from overcoming him again. Kratos tells Atreus later in the game that he has killed many people and that he killed his own father. Well, Kratos killed a lot of people, hasn't he? But will he tell his son all of this in God of War Ragnarok? I think eventually the truth has to come out and he has to tell Atreus. Whether it's for Atreus' own good, kind of like his sickness, or before someone else tells him. We just have to wait and see when hits the fan in God of War Ragnarok. So, what question do you want answered most in God of War Ragnarok? Did we feature this question in this video, or did we leave it out? Tell me and John in the comments down below, and maybe we can create another video updating you on new questions that God of War Ragnarok has to answer. I want to thank John Ford once again for helping me out with this video, and if you have not checked out John Ford's channel, which I really don't know how you do not know John Ford if you like God of War pretty much anything, check out the link to his channel in the description down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.